Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be making another wonderful wine recipe, and this recipe combines both of my two favourite spring-summer ingredients, that being rhubarb and nettle. Rhubarb and nettle combined complement each other so well in the wine glass. It is one of those all-time classic wine recipes that you don't really see written down anywhere, and it's only by trial and error that I come up with this recipe. So I want to share it with you now because it is awesome, it is brilliant. Now this recipe is so simple, yet it gives a divine drink, and it's so easy to make. And the first ingredient we need is about 2 kilograms of frozen rhubarb. Rhubarb is always so much better when it's been frozen because it releases a lot more flavour and a lot more sugar into the wine. So if you haven't prepared your rhubarb yet, pause this video, go chop your rhubarb, freeze it overnight, and then come back to me and then we will continue. So with your 2 kilograms of frozen rhubarb, you want to place it into a clean, sanitised, sterilised fermentation bucket. Awesome. On top of your rhubarb, inside the fermentation bucket, you want to pour in your sugar, your granulated sugar. The range of sugar for this wine is between 1.2 and 1.5 kilograms. There's a range because you can make it either sweeter or drier. It depends on your own personal preference. And this wine lends itself really well to both a dry wine or a sweet wine. If you prefer the sweeter wine, add about 1.5 kilograms of sugar. If you prefer a dry wine, add the 1.2. I am adding about 1.3 kilograms to go for a medium dry wine. So pour in your sugar on top of the rhubarb and then put the kettle on, ready for the boiling water, which will defrost that rhubarb and also dissolve the sugar into a sublime, thick, rhubarby, syrupy consistency. With your 2 kilograms of rhubarb mixed in with that sugar and about a litre of boiling water poured over the top to dissolve it all, you're ready to move on to the next stage, which is adding the nettles. Now, nettles are awesome. If you haven't tried nettle wine, go for it. If you haven't tried nettle beer, go for it. These are brilliant recipes using weeds that are on your doorstep. For this recipe, we are using 3 pints of lightly compressed nettles. 3 pints will give you a delicious tone to the rhubarb. It won't overpower it, but it will simply enhance and add and give this delightful taste to the rhubarb. It really complements it fantastically. So grab your 3 pints of nettles, put them into a large saucepan, pour over about a litre of boiling water on top of the nettles inside the saucepan, put a lid on top and then let them simmer for about 20 minutes and allow all that divine, brilliant, fantastic greenery and flavour and taste escape and release itself into the water from the nettles. Fantastic stuff. So leave it to simmer 20 minutes and I'll be back with you after a couple. Those nettles are smelling beautiful, they are. What we need to do now is pour the juice from the nettles into the sugar and rhubarb solution. Just pour it in, don't get any of the leaves in because over time they will impart a bitter taste. Once that has been poured in, we need to start slicing a banana and chop in a lemon in half and squeeze the lemon into your solution of rhubarb and nettle and sugar juice, and also throw in the chunks of the banana. The banana will add a great deal of body to the wine and the lemon juice would add a lot of acidity, which would really help that mouthfeel of the finished wine in the glass. I am not a fan of adding banana to boiling water for winemaking purposes. This is because when you boil up a banana, it gives off a huge amount of sediment and pulp, and this will take an eternity to clear out of your finished wine. And another thing I'm going to add is a tea bag, because tea bags add tannin to the wine, and the tannin does help impart a good amount of mouthfeel and overall roundness to your country wine. Now, the next step, very important, you want to add your yeast. I am using a rhubarb yeast by Cross My Loof. I'll put the link to them down in the description below. They are a fantastic company. It's the company I always use, my go-to staple for winemaking. They have a whole variety of yeasts available, anything from rhubarb to mead to even Christmas pudding wine yeast, which is fantastic. I love that yeast, I do. But you can use a general purpose yeast or any type of yeast that grabs your fancy for this wine. but if you can try to get one that's specific for rhubarb, fantastic, you're laughing. You may want to add yeast nutrients if your yeast packet doesn't come with nutrients added. That's your choice entirely. So pour in or sprinkle in your chosen favourite yeast. Good job, that's now fantastic. Now the next step is to cover your bucket and set this aside in a warm place and leave it for 5 to 7 days. It's going to be lively and vigorous and enthusiastic in the bucket. It's going to bubble and ferment and make all these lovely blurply sounds through the airlock, and fantastic. And I will see you in a week when we carry on with this rhubarb and nettle wine recipe. See you soon now. Hello and welcome back. A week has passed whilst the rhubarb and nettle wine has been fermenting and maturing and becoming awesome within the fermentation vessel. Those awesome chunks of rhubarb have been imparting their colour into the juice, so it's a blend between that lovely pink red rhubarb colour and the green nettles. It's looking fantastic, it is. And now the next step is to grab yourself a colander or a sieve and scoop out and remove all that lovely rhubarb that's floating around in the liquid. Now it's a simple case of transferring that liquid into your clean sanitised demijohn or fermentation vessel if you're using a carboy. Now I'm going to be straining my liquid through a bottle that's been cut off with a lady's tight in it, because I've lost my funnel, and the tight will catch any extra little bits of debris and sediment that I've missed with the colander. It's just an added extra method of preserving the liquid without the particles in. It helps, trust me. So go buy yourself some tights, brilliant stuff. So just pour the liquid from your bucket into your demijohn. Now you could add some peptic enzyme here if you wanted to help prevent any peptic haze that might form. I've tried this recipe numerous times and I've never had an issue with a peptic haze before in this particular wine. So I'm going by my own experience and I'm not going to add any. But if you fancy adding some for your own peace of mind, go ahead and add some now or at the start of the fermentation, going back a couple of steps. Your choice entirely. I try not to add any additives if I can help it, and I'd rather go through the natural process and test a wine a few times and then tweak it with additives if I need it. But this wine, I really don't think it needs any peptic enzyme added to it. It will clear perfectly well without the addition. That's my experience at least. These recipes are only a guideline. They're only to give you the idea, the inspiration to go off and make the wine that you want to make. If you want a sweet wine, add more sugar. If you want a drier wine, add less. If you want to use a particular strong wine yeast, go ahead and add it. Or if you want to use bread yeast, your choice entirely. Because I love giving you the ability to go off and be adventurous and try and test for yourself these recipes and many other recipes that you can create yourself. Now we're moving into another step where we just need to top up the demijohn to the neck with cold water. So just pour in the cold water into the demijohn and fill it up to the neck level. I need a bigger funnel. I've lost mine somewhere. And now it's time just to insert your airlock before you tuck your wine away for 6 months and let it finish fermenting and start to mature before you rack it. In my airlock I have added glycerin, and if you want to know why I use glycerin in my airlock, check out this video up by here, and I will see you really soon for the next weird, wonderful, amazing wine. You have fun now. Bye bye.